I'm Chrissy Wozniak. I am really excited for today's guest from the industry leader at the forefront of autonomous electric tractors, Monarch Tractor, the maker of the world's first 100% electric, driver-optional, intelligent tractor, who earlier this month received a $3 million grant from the California Energy Commission. My guest is co-founder and president of Monarch Tractor. He has over a decade of experience leading manufacturing organizations and has developed over 16 million square feet of manufacturing space. He's previously served for and with such companies as Tesla, Toyota, Zoox, and Romeo Power Technology. From San Francisco, California, I would like to welcome Mark Schwager. Welcome, Mark, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So first of all, tell me a bit about your background. Your manufacturing experience is really, really impressive.
Thanks. So I got started in, a more low-tech product early in my career in my 20s when I got the opportunity to run a door hardware factory in New York City, basically making brass fittings for doors, doorknobs, hinges, things like that. All of that was pre-recession, and then went to business school in the recession, came out and learned about a tiny little company trying to make electric cars in Palo Alto. So came to Tesla, worked on the Roadster line, the Toyota program, which was a Tesla-Toyota collaboration, worked on the Model S and X factory, led the Gigafactory project in Nevada. Then left Tesla and joined Zoox, led their manufacturing and supply chain team. Then went back to building battery factories, worked with the two founders of Northvolt, who are building a gigafactory in Sweden, and then also built a battery pack factory in Los Angeles with Romeo Power, all before starting Monarch about four years ago.
Wow, that's incredible. And Monarch Tractor is really leading the pack when it comes to this electric autonomous tractors. So tell me about Monarch and how the company has come this far and really so fast.
I think the speed is really something that all of us founders have learned in our history. So I've gotten to learn from some of the best when it comes to technology development and speed to manufacturing, working with companies like Tesla. My two co-founders, Praveen and Zachary, both worked and basically built an engineering services company that was basically industry best in speed to develop hardware prototypes and even into the kind of dozens of units for a number of different Silicon Valley startups, LA startups, a lot of automotive companies. The real hardware work was actually done by them. So we've kind of all learned this in our past, and then we've brought this collective experience into Monarch. And we've been very, very financially efficient and very time efficient with developing our tractors. So we've been able to essentially develop a new iteration of our tractor every year since we started the company. And that's why we've been able to get to production so quickly.
Yeah, that's really, really unbelievable. So let's talk about the tractor. What are some highlights of the MKV? It's electric and driver optional. And what about horsepower and torque?
Yeah, so it's a 40 horsepower continuous tractor. That's the class that we would put it in. But because it's electric, we have the ability to peak out at about 70 horsepower on the tractor. With respect to torque, it's got about double the torque that you would have on a diesel tractor just because of the efficiency of the electric drivetrain. One of the other interesting things is that it's a single motor architecture, which limits the cost, but also ensures that we can have maximum power at any of the output points, whether it's the PTO, the wheels, or the primary hydraulic pump.
So how does it compare to diesel tractors? I know there's a lot of different comparison points, but what are some of the highlights?
So I think one of the most important things is that it's both electric and has the autonomy capabilities. On a diesel tractor, if you were to automate, you would still need a lot of electrical infrastructure. Monarch's tractor kind of makes that system a whole lot more efficient. I think one of the other things, if you look at a 40 horsepower tractor, you will not find anybody else who's even attempted to make the entire system by wire. What that means is we don't have a mechanical connection to the steering wheel or to the throttle or any of the hydraulic controls. It's all electronic. And if you look at a traditional tractor, you'll find as many as 11 or 14 levers on that tractor that actually do all of those functions. We control all of that electronically. So that's actually what enables the platform to be automatable from the cloud.
Wow.
So it's really quite a bit different. And some of the similar things is that whether you have a battery or you have a gas tank with diesel, you get about the same runtime with our tractor as you would with the diesel. You can bring a nurse truck out to the middle of the field to refuel the tractor, just like you can bring a swappable battery, which is one of the unique things about our tractor, is that we recognize that farmers may need 24/7 operations. So our battery for most medium duty operations will last 8 to 10 hours. But if the farmer needs to work 24/7, you can swap the battery with a single person on uneven ground in 7 minutes or less.
Wow. And what's charge time on the battery?
Charge time, recognizing that farmers don't have DC fast chargers nor the infrastructure to support it, charge
Mhm.
time is about 5 hours.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty good actually. And I
For,
was
for
in,
the, yeah, for the size of battery, it is very good.
yeah, yeah, I'm actually surprised by that. And I was in Fresno for the Fear conference last month, and I got to see the MKB in action. So one thing that I thought was really cool was its ability to follow the driver around when he was on foot, and it could recognize him, but and differentiate between him and other people. So that's incredible technology. How does that work, and what are some on farm uses for that?
So one of the on-farm uses for that in particular is that if you're out surveying the field and you want the tractor to come with you, you can jump off the tractor and have the tractor follow you. For example, we can see this in harvest, the hauling operation. So let's say you're harvesting a fruit or a grape or something like that. What you typically would have to do to move the harvest hauling vehicle is jump on, jump off, jump on, jump off. Or you can just set it to this mode and it can follow the person down the field while the picking is going on. So the value is really in the continuous automation operations for the farmer. This is just one of those. It's cool to see, but the real value is in the dirty, dangerous, and dull jobs that the tractor has to do that are ultimately repeatable. So this is just one of those additional things that farmers will like, just because it will be challenging for a farmer to do the jump on, jump off. And we see this actually with attaching implements as well. There is the jump on, jump off, jump on, jump off, align the implement, which we can do completely automated.
Yeah, that's so cool. And it also captures and analyzes data as it goes. So tell me about that.
Yeah, one of the key features is that we can analyze crop data while we're adding value to the farm. So there are lots of companies out there that just have surveying vehicles. For example, you have the 30,000-foot view with the drones that actually capture the crop views from above, but you're paying just for data collection if you're a farmer. Similarly, there are rovers that are kind of little vehicles that traverse the rows and go up and down and collect agronomy data. But again, you're just paying for data collection. In our particular case, the farmer is paying for an automated operation and gets the benefit of collecting the agronomy data as it goes. So we've got a number of different data collection points and we have an open architecture. So if for example, a farmer wants to add a sensor like a hyperspectral camera to collect additional data, it can be bolted onto our system. So really the benefits for the farmer on the data collection side are huge, just because you're not paying for purpose runs for data collection, and because you're on every single pass. For example, if you're doing mowing or spraying 8 to 10 times a year, you're collecting that data on every pass basically for free.
And does it integrate with mobile devices?
Absolutely. We have a Monarch app, where you can not only check the cameras if an operation has to stop, you can also essentially set operations from the phone and monitor the operations from the phone. So we're completely digitized here.
Yeah, that's so cool. And clearly the tractor solves some labor shortages on that farms are seeing right now. So realistically, how much labor can the tractor supplement?
So it can do most of the significant operations that happen over and over during the year. So when we think about our early customers with vineyards, we can automate the mowing, the spraying, the hauling, the under vine cultivation. We can't, we'll have to work with specific implement partners for things like pruning, or if we want the kind of hand harvesting, that's not something that the tractor can do all by itself. That would require an implement partnership. But
Mhm.
basically, anything a tractor does that is repetitive, we can automate. And the thing is, we've gone through a lot of trouble to put a seat and a steering wheel on the tractor. It doesn't
Mhm.
actually have to look that way. It's something that we've done deliberately, and we've added
Mhm.
a lot of cost to the vehicle to make sure that for the one-off utility operations that the farmer needs to do,
Yeah.
um, they can jump in the tractor and drive it just like they would any other tractor. It's actually safer than a traditional tractor because of all of the electronic guardrails that we put on it. So we have technology that prevents rollovers, that shuts down the PTO if anything comes in the vision window. That we have a camera pointed at the PTO, and then of course anti-collision technology as well.
Amazing. And so, also at the Fear Show, I was at the Monarch booth and I needed to plug in my equipment for an interview. And I was able to plug right into the tractor to run my computer and my sound equipment. So it said that the tractor works as a mini generator during times of electric power failure or the grid is down. So, how is that possible?
Yeah, so it's always been part of our ethos to have exportable power as part of our solution. So we've installed 110 and 220 outs. So to make sure that, let's say, for example, electrical infrastructure is down in the middle of the field and you need to operate a stationary engine or for a pump for water for irrigation, you can drive the tractor over, plug it in, and do those sort of things. If you need to weld up a broken implement in the middle of the field, you can plug into a tractor and do that.
Wow.
So we were thinking about these sort of utility functions that were essentially necessary. One of the add-on benefits is that in today's vernacular, it's a rolling power wall. So you get the opportunities that with a public safety power shutdown, as they have here in California, if you do need to power a home, or if you're in a vineyard and you're actually going through your not your harvest, but your winemaking operation, you need power to be able to circulate the wine. And my co-founder Carlo will tell this better, but essentially he calls it a push down and pump over when you actually circulate the wine through the system.
Hmm.
Um, that happens in the fall, and the fall is fire season. And if that happens while the operation is going down, you could lose your crop in the actual winery rather than just in the field. So it's really important that we have this power continuity. We see the tractor as a big repository for power on the farm going forward. Today, the infrastructure is all built around diesel. And so you have diesel generators, diesel tanks, but we see the opportunity to bring the electrification as an ecosystem, with the tractor being the center of it, both as a power storage device as well as, of course, a work device.
Yeah, that's really neat. The Changing gears a little bit. So the Monarch Tractor and its electrification consortium partners have received a $3 million grant from the California Energy Commission. So, what is this grant for, and why is it so important?
Yeah, this is really about that electrification system and ecosystem. And we've got a number of great partners between Grid Tractor, Rhombus Energy Solutions, Current Ways, Polaris Energy Services. Really, the exportable power needs to be able to go back to the grid. And what this is all about is making sure that you have that bidirectional infrastructure in place and the technologies there to support it on the rural side. You have a lot of this today in the commercial and industrial space with respect to exportable power. And a lot of different power companies have different programs that allow you to sell that back to the grid. But it's really important that we develop the technology for the rural infrastructure. So that's really why we're doing this.
Wow. And one thing that I really appreciated at FIRA was the openness to share and collaborate on innovation, to see, different companies that even maybe competitors just really sit down at the table and talk and be open. It was really refreshing. So, who are the partners involved in this, and why, like, is that very important to have this partnership?
You know, and you're asking about the CEC grant
Yeah.
partners. So Current Ways, for example, is a manufacturer of a what we would call an onboard charger. When I say charger, you usually think about the cable that plugs into the vehicle. But what we have is power electronics on board the tractor that we also call a charger that makes that power conversion possible from AC to DC so that it can essentially charge the battery from an AC source. With DC fast charging, you don't need the charger, it sort of bypasses it. So that piece of infrastructure is really important. Then there is when I say charger, you probably think of the thing that plugs in, that we call the EVSE, which is another portion of this partnership. Then Grid Tractor is developing a technology that will essentially fleet manage the electrical load across a group of vehicles in the rural sphere. So you have a lot of this already going on for on-road vehicles and management of fleets, but Grid Tractor is the first to really jump in and tackle the off-road rural space. So it's a really interesting group of partners that we're pulling together.
Yeah, that's so cool. And California produces around a third of the nation's vegetables, around two-thirds of fruit and nuts. So electrical grid failures, as you've said before, can be catastrophic for growers at all points in the supply chain. So this grant will no doubt further the technology to keep the production going despite whatever is happening in the grid. What do you think is real, of like a realistic expectation from the project? And so what will we see coming out on the other side that you are most excited about?
I'm most excited about the technology development
Yeah.
and finding the right economic solution for the farmers
Yeah.
so that they can really invest in this and build I would call energy security, localized energy security for the farmer. I think when it comes to public safety power shutdowns, they're the forgotten entity in the equation. Really, this is about PGE making sure that they aren't responsible for a massive wildfire, and so they take extra precaution. But there is collateral damage in doing that, and the farmer suffers from that.
Yeah.
What we want is to make sure that farmers can pave the way for their own energy security, potentially off the grid. The one thing that farmers have that really nobody else has the same access to is land. So the possibility exists with all of the government stimulus for them to install solar and be able to localize their power generation so that they are secure. I mean, we've looked at the numbers. It's extremely economically viable, but it is a step away from what they've been doing so far. With diesel in crisis right now in our country, I believe we have 25 days of diesel, and the prices are jumping 25% week over week. It's really time to take a look at this and secure our future when it comes to power infrastructure.
Right. And what's the price point of one of these tractors?
So right now, you can purchase one of our tractors for with the California incentives through the core program. The net to farmer is just about $15,000 or $20,000.
Wow, that's fair.
So there are massive state benefits to buying an electric tractor right now, and farmers should really take advantage of it. This actually puts the price point below a diesel tractor if you can even get your hands on one right now.
Yeah.
So in other states, they won't have that benefit just yet, but we're hoping that other states follow suit. California has been an incredible leader when it comes to stimulating these technologies, and what California does, the world echoes 5 to 10 years later.
Yeah. And I have one last question for you. Why do you serve the agriculture industry, and what's your greatest passion?
So I've worked in factories for my entire career, and I've been in electrification and automated vehicles for the last 12. I think what's really interesting to me about the agriculture field is that when Praveen and I first started talking about building this company about 5, 6 years ago, I started researching farms, and coming from a manufacturing environment and career, I looked at the farm probably more simply than it really is. I look at it as a factory for food.
Mm.
But I've been fortunate to be around a lot of technology development in factories and understand the way that factories of the future are being built with the technologies that they have. And when I went into the farm for the first time, I kind of realized that they didn't have any of that. They didn't have the infrastructure, the methodology, the technologies. And I thought it was a travesty, to be honest with you. They should, because essentially that's what they're doing. And if we can bring that kind of manufacturing discipline and bring the technologies, for example, we've had robots in factories since the 80s. Why don't we have that in the farm if we're doing literally the same thing, just
Mm.
cultivating food? So that to me was the biggest opportunity. And the second was when I looked across the entire space after building electric vehicles for over a decade, I realized that there was nothing out there. And so to bring electrification to a new industry is just a continuation of the mission I've been on since 2010, and I wanted to continue that. I think the car and on-road industry is well on its way, but bringing it to a new space was just a new challenge, new opportunity. Definitely headwinds in the space, but I think what's great about farmers versus all other types of customers is farmers will be very, very clear about what their problems are, how you can
Mhm.
solve them. And if you can, they will buy your product because
Right.
ultimately it's a moneymaker for them. And so I see it more simply as the economics of the farm really feed into the technologies we're developing. And if they didn't, it just wouldn't work. And
Right.
so we don't have the sustainability for the feel good sustainability sake. We actually have sustainability because it's actually more economically viable for the farmer. And farmers basically have told us that, and we've responded with the technology development that's going to underpin their economics first and aid sustainability as a secondary effect.
Right.
So I really love that about this space. With cars, electrification really just doesn't pay off over the long term. It's because of the electrification and the automation that we can have the effect on sustainability because we can really adjust the economics.
Yeah, yeah, those are great points. And even at Fira, a lot of the discussions were, you'd have over here the universities going, "Look at all these cool things we can make," and then you'd see the people in the business of profit going, "Well, that doesn't entirely is that going to benefit farmers?" And I really liked watching that back and forth between the idea people and then the does this make sense? And I thought that was really incredible. But yeah, if it doesn't create profit margin for the manufacturer and the farmer, you know, what's the point? But of course, it's always good to have the innovators out there thinking up cool things too.
Exactly. I mean, without the innovation, we wouldn't be able to come up with as compelling technologies. And there have to be people who are looking out for one particular thing. I think that's what one of the really special things about our founding team is that we all bring different perspectives to the table. But ultimately, we're here because we want to see an industry um, become much more economically viable than it is today. I'm sure you're aware that the government subsidizes to an incredible dollar value on an annual basis.
Yeah.
We think that if we can infuse this technology into the farm, we can do a lot to help farmers generate profits on their own.
Yeah, that's great. In an already razor thin market.
Yes,
Yeah. So
most
anything
certainly.
is welcome, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me, Chrissy.
Yeah. And thanks to all who are watching or listening. If you want to learn more, the links are provided in the show notes. And I also want to let you know that Monarch Tractor has big news coming next week. So stay tuned to North American Ag to find out. And don't forget to subscribe to North American Ag Spotlight YouTube, Rumble, Telegram, or Ag Fuse channels. And the podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, Amazon, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And have a great day.